Hello students, good evening. Today one more topic of linguistics we are discussing, that is functions of language. Functions of language means that's a various purposes for which language is used, right? So these are the various purposes for which we use language. So different purpose of language is called function. So first of all we have to understand the characteristics and functions of language. If I say that suppose you have bought a new cell phone, so that if you count new features of that phone, so that is called characteristics of cell phone. Features are characteristics of cell phone, and what the use, how my Android and I like Apple, right? So how iPhone and the difference between the functioning of Android and functioning of uh, iPad, right? iPhone. So the difference is that what Android cannot do, but Apple can do. This is the functioning. Characteristics, features are characteristics, and functioning means how can you use for which purpose, right? So these are the functions. So with this mindset, you just understand the different linguistics have proposed different methods, models to categorize these functions. The most famous being those of Roman Jacobson and Michael Halliday. So please take care and please keep remember both the names, Roman Jacobson and Michael Halliday, right? So first of all we are going to see the opinion of Roman Jacobson. According to him, there are six functions of language. Number one, so Jacobson's model is based on six key components of any act of communication. Now, the context, the sender, addresser, and the receiver addressee. The message itself, the channel of communication. What he says that any act of communication, the context, the sender means addresser. I am speaking, I am addresser. And receiver, you are addressee because you are receiving what I am speaking. So that is context and the message itself, the channel of communication, and the code, the language system, right? So here we have to think that act of communication is what? The context, the sender, addresser, right? So context is I am teaching linguistics, right? Sender's addresser is that I am, my address is, to make it clear the difference between functions and characteristics. You are the receiver. Message is being conveyed to you, supplied to you. The channel of communication is cell phone, and the code, the language system, is English. So each of these component corresponds to a specific function of language. First of all, first function is that is referential or denotative. One is connotative, second one is denotative function. This is the most basic function, focusing on the context or what is being talked about. Context may be different, right? Suppose its purpose is to convey information, state facts, or describe a situation objectively. So suppose if I am saying that I will not go tomorrow. So my context may be same sentence I may use in different contexts, different situations. So that the same sentence may be inferred in different way, right? If I say, listen, I will not go tomorrow. So suppose I am in tension, that's why I am speaking the same. Listen, I will not go tomorrow. And suppose, listen, I will not go tomorrow. That may be different. So if context is different, so that interpretation will be different. That is denotative, right? It's not connotative, that is denotative. What did you denote? Okay. So the basic function is that's a focusing on the context or what is being talked about. So first of all, you have to find out the context and what is I'm telling you have to understand. Its purpose is to convey information. Of course, we want to convey information through language, state facts, or sometimes we want to tell the facts or describe a situation objectively. Or sometimes we described a situation but then we are not involved. Suppose there is any incident, accident or event in which I cannot report it. Very good example is that's a news reporter. When you see in TV, different channels, right? So the news reporter or print media, so they cannot give their view. They should not give their view. They cannot say that what I think personally. No. They are very objectively means they are away from the situation. They are just narrating the situation, detail of event, accident or incident, and they are not personally involved. That is called referential. Okay. Example, the earth is round, or the sales figures are up by 3% this quarter. So they have given the information, that's all. So that is called referential, okay, or denotative. Number 2, emotive. Emotive as name suggests that's a emotions, right? Expressive. When we express something. This function is centered to the addressers, means that is centered on the addresser, senders, and expresses their emotions. Suppose I am sharing something with you, so that is second function is that is focused on addresser. I am addresser, right, or sender, and I am expressing my emotions, feelings and attitudes through language. So it often involves interjections, exclamations and variations in tone. Interjection, oh no, yes. So both the words, when I speak with emotions, strong emotions, or explanation, how did you go there? That is explanation. Or variations in tone. Or suppose I have variations, that's a no, no, no. These are different variations in tone. Now example is wow, that's amazing, or oh, I am so tired. So these kind of emotions which is called emotive or expressive is the another function of language. Now next is conative function. Conative function or fatigue function. Okay. Conative, the function focuses on addressee, again addressee, receiver, sorry. Upper one was addresser. Here focus, there are two, A and B, right? A is a speaker, B is listener. So here function is on this one. Earlier one, when we discuss the previous one, let me tell you, that is emotive, right? So for emotive is senders or receivers. Emotive is focused on senders, and connotative is conative is based on receiver, right? So just listen carefully. This function focuses on addressee, receiver, and aims to influence or persuade them. It is typically found in commands, requests, or appease. When you command, please bring me a glass of water. When you command, give me a glass of water. Request, please give me a glass of water. And appease, please don't go there. So means my focus is on a receiver, right? Addressee, whom I'm addressing. And then I think he will influence, or he will convey, or he will persuade, he will obey me, right? Please close the door. If I am telling you, then you will close the door. So if I am saying please close the door, or could you pass me the salt, so that is request, and then in both the cases I am expecting you will do it, and that is why it is conative, right? Now next is fatigue. Fatigue is what? That is to make someone ease. The function of is about establishing and maintaining connection between the senders and receivers. So the purpose of fatigue function is, when we use such language, means we want to establish connection. Very important term here, that is connection between senders and receivers. So that bonding, when we establish connection or bonding, then we use fatigue language. For example, the function is about establishing and maintaining connection between sender and receiver. It is the language of small talk, not full sentence sometimes, just small talk, and that does not convey significant information. Just one or two words are enough, but it establishes relationship between speaker and listener, or between reader or writer, but serves to open and sustain a channel of communication which can start or end the communication, right? For example, hello, how are you? So that is enough. Or right, okay, got it. That is open, and that is close, right? So that is fatigue. Means either it open or sustain the channel of communication, and that is you small talk, not much, and open or sometimes sustain. Open or sustain the channel of communication. This is open and this is sustain. Okay, this way. I think you must have got it. Now next is metalingual function. Metalingual function is, that is when language is used for teaching language, which is metalingual, right? The function is language used to talk about language itself. Means language is used for language, used to talk about language itself, right? It is a key part of defining words, right? Clarifying a misunderstanding or discussing grammar. I didn't mean it, right? What does krill mean? Or the word run has many different meanings. So when we teach grammar or when we clarify, sometimes we say I didn't mean it. So when you clarify a misunderstanding or discussing a grammar or words, then the language is used. Right now I am using metalingual function. Why? Because I'm teaching linguistics through language. So this is called metalingual function. Okay, so this is metalingual function. Okay, when language is used to talk about language, I am using language to talk about language. So this is metalingual function. Then poetic function. Last sixth one is, that is poetic function, literary function. Okay, so then the function focuses on the message form. When you form the message, style and structure for its own sake. It is dominant in poetry, but also appears in slogans, puns, and other creative uses of language where the sound and rhythm are as important as the meaning. So sometimes we use sound and rhythm, sometimes we may maintain rhyming pattern, right? Why? So then we select words, right, according to rhyming pattern. We select words so that structure is different, style is different, form is different, right, to create a slogan or poem, right, or creative use of language, dialogues and all. So that is called poetic function, to make our speech or our message more effective. For example, then I like, right, so I like, that's a ilk, right? So that poetical slogan. Or a line of poem like, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Robert Frost poem, right? So the woods are lovely, dark and deep. So that is that creates poetic impression. Okay, but I have promises to keep, right? So miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep, sleep is death. So such expressions come under poetic function, right? So these are the 6 functions which are given by the author. Please take care. That is yeah, so that is whose model we were discussing. We were discussing Jacobson's model, right? So Jacobson's 6 function, right? Roman Jacobson's 6 functions. First is referential, number 2 emotive, right? Then next is conative, fatigue, metalingual and poetic function according to, that is Jacobson, Roman Jacobson. Okay, now moving to another author, Halliday, Michael Halliday, meta functions, right? What he says, that Halliday's model part of that his theory of systematic functional linguistics, right? So that is systematic functions of linguistics. In his book Systematic Functional Linguistics, he talked about the functions of language, looks at language in terms of how it functions to create meaning. So how language functions to create meaning. He identified 3 meta functions, the that operate simultaneously in any utterance. So what he identified, just three meta functions that operate simultaneously in utterances, dialogues or speaking. Number one, ideational. So that is ideational function. Ideational function. This function is about using language to represent our experience of the world, both the external world and our internal thoughts. It includes how we talk about actions, events, people, and things. What he says that first is ideational. Ideational function means that the language which is to represent our experience of world, when what our experience, internal experience or external thoughts, internal world and external thoughts. And it includes when we talk about actions. I'll go tomorrow to buy books, suppose. Events, I have to attend a marriage party or birthday party. Yesterday we enjoyed in a party. Or she is very good natured lady, or she is very rude, or something. I liked that cell phone. All these kind of uh, sentences or language which are used to represent our experience, है ना? Experience of external world or internal thoughts. Number two, interpersonal function. Interpersonal, as it self-express that interpersonal, the function is concerned with how we use language to interact, right? To interact with others. So interaction with others, establish and maintain social roles. When we interact someone, so our language matters a lot. It creates good reputation, a good rapport between two people, two parties, and express our attitudes and judgments. So that is our social roles, and express our attitude, language and attitude. Language reflects our attitudes and our judgments as well, right? And then it is the doing of language, how language works, right? That is interpersonal function, which creates bonding, right? To interact or establish and maintain social roles. So that interaction with others which creates social roles because of language, choice of words, behavior, voice modulation, that create interpersonal relationship through interpersonal function. So whenever we interact with someone, right, and that's a purpose is social roles, right, with attitude, judgment on the basis of the. So what he says that doing of language, how language works, right? If you are rude, it will reflect from your language. If you are soft, it will show, it will be reflected by your language, which is called interpersonal function. Now the last is textual function. This function is about how we use language to create coherent and organized text, whether spoken or written. It ensures that our utterance are connected and makes sense as a complete message. This is somewhat formal actually for writing. When we have to be very much particular, then because for writing work we have to be very much particular. So these type of language we use, this function is about how we use language to create coherent and organized text. So then we have to use coherent and organized systematic text. introduction, discussion than conclusion. That is why we sometimes we say that I was not making out that in the text, right? I was not in situation to the make out the intention. Why? Because it was not systematic. So sometimes we say that we could not get head and tail. So systematic, it must be coherent and organized language, right? Whether spoken or written, it should be very much clear, orderly. It ensures that our utterances are connected and make sense as a complete message. So that our utterances must be very clear and coherent in an ordered way, and very clear facts and figures must be there with a systematic and organized way. That comes under which function? Textual function. Here that is something to do with, more to do with text, right? Text means very much formal and very much aware and alert when we use the sentence. Okay, now Halliday also proposed a different set of 7 functions, mm, uh, especially for how children acquire and use language. So what he says, that a child, you just imagine a child, so he uses language as an instrumental, then regulatory, so that he uh, use it on the regular basis, then interactional, so he talks and he learns, that personal, and then sometime he use for his own presentation, then representational, and then he represents, and then heuristic and imaginative. So we'll discuss it later on, but yes, you just remember the names. These functions describe the early uses of language, from getting a need met to exploring the world through play. So that is more or less, Halliday talks about 3 functions. First is the ideational function, then interpersonal function, and textual function. So you just have to remember these 3, right? Ideational, that is the language which is used for expressing our external world and internal thoughts, right? So when we talk about people, thing, person, events, so that we use ideational language. Then interpersonal function, when we want to establish our relationship with parties and all, with the our subordinate, boss, and someone. So that is used to create bonding, we can say, that for our social roles and attitude and all. So that is interpersonal function. And last, textual function, when we write, when we use language and messaging and very formal, we can say that when we are very much aware about our writing or spoken, but it must be very crystal clear in ordered way, right? So that is coherent and organized language when we use in spoken or writing. So that is called textual function. So that is given by Halliday, Michael Halliday, right? So here we have discussed the functions of language, and rest of the 7 functions he has given, how a child uses language. So it will be discussed later on. Thank you so much. Good night. Oh my God.